When it comes to making terrain and dioramas, there's so much information it's overwhelming to know where to start. So I've created a short, zero knowledge beginner's fundamentals. This video gives you the foundations that you can expand and use to make something today. To keep it short, I've broken it into three simple sections: materials, wood texture, and stone texture. The first thing you'll need is cheap acrylic paint. The next is a utility knife or a box cutter. For glue, I recommend using a low temperature hot glue gun. The main material that I use is foam. You can use dollar store foam core. And then lastly is paintbrushes. I don't recommend getting a nice set. Just buy the cheapest beginner set you can. And that's it. So let's get started with making some wood texture. Cut off a piece of XPS foam, and then we're going to go ahead and peel the paper off. And the inner foam core is what we're going to be working with because this can hold texture through impressions. The first technique does require a metal brush. We simply brush the foam all in a single direction to create the wood grain. If you don't have a wire brush, the next technique we use is a pencil just to make impressions. Simply draw the wood grain pattern into the foam. You can add in knots for additional detail and just make random lines. So you can see side by side, one looks a little more realistic and the other is more stylized. To paint these, we're going to use a wash. To make a wash, it consists of water, dish soap, and paint. Just put these in a watertight container, mix it up. If your wash is either too watery or too thick, just add paint or water as needed. The dish soap is just to help the paint flow. For wood that's made with the wire brush, I always use a wash because it seeps into all the crevices. For the stylized version, you can just use regular paint. Just continue to add thin layers until you achieve the color that you want. Adjust your wash by adding in darker colors or other colors. After this is dry, we'll highlight with a dry brush. This is a mostly light tone with a minuscule amount of paint that just highlights the edges. Try to ensure there's very little paint on your brush and use very little pressure when applying this. Continuously layer washes and dry brushes until you get the look you want. Now let's do some stone texture 5 different ways. As always, start out by removing the outer layer of paper. And for all of these, we're going to start with using a tinfoil ball to make impressions into the foam. And it's simple as that, and you can call this a stone slab. For the next one, we'll carve a brick pattern into the wall. I use my knife, being careful not to cut all the way through, and then widen the cut up with a pencil. This will also bevel the edge and give it a nice look. Then make vertical cuts to differentiate the individual bricks. After you've made all these cuts, go ahead and widen those up with a pencil as well. Next, you can simply draw in a brick pattern. The more intentional you are, the better it will look. Again, texture first, then carve. Last and most annoying is individual bricks. When cutting these out, it's best to make sure that they're all the same size and shape, otherwise they won't fit together well. To texture these, I break them all apart and put them in with rocks and shake them up. Side by side, you can see this smooths out the hard edge. After that, just glue them in place. You can see when they're not the same size and shape, it becomes more difficult to get a consistent looking pattern. For painting these, I start with a gray base coat, followed by a black wash, followed by a dry brush of a lighter gray. You can continuously do these steps over and over until you get the look that you want. Add in more earthy tones if you want a more realistic look. One of the coolest beginner techniques to do is take some of the individual bricks and paint them different colors like brown, red, and yellow, and then when you hit it with that black wash, it will tie it all together. Again, remember when dry brushing to use the least amount of paint possible. Don't hit it with a dry brush until everything is fully dried, and use very light pressure. You can use these techniques together to make a pretty good looking building. I recommend this as a first project because it's a simple shape. And as you're building, when you want to try to do new things, you can look those up. I find that when starting out, it's hard to even know which questions to ask. So this is just meant to be that foundational building blocks that you can then take from there, build something, and as you're running into challenges, troubleshoot and overcome those. I hope this helped. I hope this inspired you, and have fun.